Good afternoon, everyone. Let us attend to the acute issue first, and then we'll get to our business of the town hall meeting. The presence of the emergency vehicles and the fire trucks over at Skyline are the result of smoke coming from an elevator mechanical room at Skyline. The smoke set off the appropriate smoke alarms. The building was evacuated. No one has been injured. The fire department is responding to what appears to be a fire in the elevator mechanical room. And as far as returning to Skyline, obviously the next steps are, once the fire department says they're done with whatever was burning and creating smoke, and they sign off on it, then in comes the big fans to remove the smoke. And if any of you have ever had to deal with any smoke damage in a home, once you're in a commercial building, multiply that by several orders of magnitude as we deal with whatever water will have to be cleaned up, whatever smells will have to be dealt with. So when we get to the question and answer period, if anybody asks me, when are we going back into Skyline, I have no idea right now. First, we'll deal with the acute situation. The good news is no one has been hurt. The building was appropriately emptied out because of the fire alarm. Sarah, anything else to be said at this point?
Wilson had an update via rate, so people are aware that the building is occupied.
The most important thing, having been through a situation like this many times in my life as an administrator, is your child who is a student is safe. Your coworkers are safe. Nobody has been injured. It was in an elevator mechanical room. There has been damage to property, no injury to person. Okay? Okay. It's been my custom since I became chancellor 7 years ago to have these town hall meetings about once per semester. And so I'm going to follow the format that I've always used, with the change that as my back pain's gotten worse, I can no longer stand up here and walk back and forth. I have to sit down. And we shall have hopes that the specialty of orthopedic surgery will make that better eventually. I'm going to spend about 25 minutes telling you what's going on with the state of the college, and then we'll open the floor for comments and questions or anything you all want to talk over like we've always done. So let's start the semester's list by celebrating some recent successes. We had a terrific 5-year anniversary of the incubator, BioInc at NYMC last week, with a large bevy of elected officials, people from the Chamber of Commerce type people, and tours of the expanded biotechnology incubator. If you haven't seen it, you should go take a look. We've got a bunch of startup companies there, and we're going to be having a bunch more startup companies there. We make elected officials very happy because we're considered a job creation engine. And I thought the most entertaining part of the new facility is what goes around comes around. Sarah put in phone booths. Because, of course, everyone works in these open spaces now. So what do you do if you want to have a private conversation? So now we have high-tech, quiet little rooms where you can have a talk with your cell phone, which I would have said was a phone booth, except there's no dime to put in anything anymore. Is there like some kind of high-tech name, Sarah, instead of phone booth, like communication paradigm shifting space or something? Phone booth, okay. We had a fabulous School of Medicine white coat ceremony, and you knew it had to be fabulous. There wasn't a parking space to be found on the entire SUNY Purchase campus, and I would guess between 1,100 and 1,500 absolutely thrilled mommies and daddies, grandmas and grandpas, and significant others. Speaking of celebrating successes, we turn the floor over to Dean Nadler and Kessler to tell you all about the LCME. Where Chris, Jerry, or Jennifer? Microphone, probably. Please, let's hand Jerry the microphone so everyone can hear him, please. It is coming to you, Jerry. Stay put. This is New York Medical College. We provide the complete service.
Check.
Well, as a new dean, one of the main things that we do is maintain accreditation and get back full accreditation. So I'm blessed to work with a wonderful team. We call it the Equip team that really has put things together, and they deserve, if not all the credit, most of the credit for a lot of the success that we've had. I sent out a note that the good news is we got back full 8-year accreditation that the college originally had in 2016. And then because of some ongoing concerns and issues that the LCME was aware of, that the college had a full accreditation, but no date. So the good news, the bottom line great news, is that we got the 8-year accreditation back. The next full site visit will be 2023, 2024. And that's the wonderful news. The other area, though, we have a number of areas that are going to continue to be monitored, and I did put those out in the notice. I'm optimistic. We have a great team that will continue to have everything in place. So I do want to shout out a couple of names since I do have the microphone here. So I do want to recognize Jennifer Kessler and Celia Friedman for working together. We had a wonderful consultant working with us, but also Catherine Spanknable, Karen Murray, Jane Ponterio, Richard McCarrick, Frank Steen, Pam Ludmer, Don Rasuki, and Patty Reynolds, Carl Thompson representing Faculty Senate. We also had people from Student Mental Health and Wellness, Rayon and David helped there, academic support, Christina Harris-Peterson, financial aid, Tony Soso, and Jennifer Reichert was very influential and helpful. So we had quite a team. There's a lot of others that participated, and I apologize if I didn't recognize everyone. But it takes a team to put this together. We're going to have ongoing activities going forward with a team going forward representing the areas that we have to address. But we can celebrate the good news that at least we don't have a full site visit until 23, 24, and we got the 8-year accreditation, which is the maximum that any college can have from the LCME, which is the most stringent accreditation agency probably in the world, and from an educational standpoint. So thank you very much, everyone, for that.
Speaking of accreditation, we also had a visit from the Secretary of Middle States, and Jennifer Rickert will tell us about that. Remember the distinction, Middle States accredits New York Medical College in general. Organizations like CODA, LCME, the Public Health accredit individual programs. So the Secretary of Middle States came to visit us, and Jennifer will tell us how we did with that.
Dr. Mordew is overseeing the overall Middle States accreditation process. She cannot be here. I'm her co-chair, so I'm going to speak on her behalf. But we did submit the self-study on behalf of New York Medical College, which was approved by Middle States, and we did have a visit from our liaison. His name is Sean McKittrick, and he looked at our self-study, he examined where we were last time, where we are now, and he gave us a very positive evaluation. We can't celebrate just yet like we are for LCME because it does mean we still have a lot of work ahead of us. We have created working groups for all the different standards, and the standards are different this time than they have been previously. So whoever was here went through the Middle States accreditation process last time. The process has changed this time, so we still need to take it very serious. There's a lot of assessment that needs to be done. We are having a kickoff meeting with the steering committee on the 18th, and many of you may be called upon to provide materials, backup, and assist with this process. And as we go through, it will be a community-wide process where we are going to need feedback and input from everyone, and we will keep everyone up to date. We've created a section of the website, so if you go to our website, if you just key in Middle States, you'll be able to view how we're doing on the process, who's on the different committees, what stage we're at. So we'll try to keep everyone informed, and we will have another community meeting to go over all of the different standards of Middle States in the next couple of months.
Thank you, Jennifer. Rob, you recently had a visit, so can we pass the microphone to Rob while we're on the topic of accreditation?
Thank you, Dr. Halpern. The speech-language pathology program had a site visit from their accrediting body, from the American Speech and Hearing Association. They had an excellent visit, and although we do not have a formal report yet, Dr. Kate Franklin can describe what we presented.
Thank you. There are 6 elements that are reviewed, 6 standards across governance, curriculum, students, assessment, and financial status. And across all of those elements, all those standards are approximately 75 elements in total. And we met every one of those except one teeny tiny element that had to do with just how faculty are made aware of promotion and tenure. So that's easy to fix. Thank you.
That's it from the School of Health Science and Practice. Thank you.
Yes. Teeny tiny would be the technical term, right?
It's a term of art.
Yeah. How many of you all were at the ribbon cutting for family medicine today? Okay. So for those of you who weren't, we opened the new family medicine clinic in Skyline today. I'm glad we got the opening done before the elevators went on fire. This has been one of my pet projects for the 7 years I've been here. And the final impetus was the opening of the dental school. There is a term now used by some people called medical model of dentistry, the increasing practice by some dentists of doing health screening as part of dental care. Now, most of you, of course, recognize this. Right? There are many women whose point of entry into the medical system is through the OBGYN. And if the OBGYN doesn't check for hypertension or diabetes or other medical illnesses, there is not another doc. And we now have a substantial body of evidence about the identification of a whole host of diseases through screening done by dentists. This was an area of scholarship of Barbara Greenberg, who was full-time faculty at SHSP until I guess now she's adjunct, Rob, right? Barbara Greenberg was adjunct faculty? Yeah. And I wanted to be sure that if illnesses were identified in the dental clinic, there would be a quick way of referral, and having a family medicine clinic on the same floor as the dental clinic was one way to do this. We also wanted to offer primary care for the family, for us, faculty, staff, students, the ability to make an appointment and leave your desk and be at your appointment in 10 minutes as opposed to having to get in the car, drive someplace, and be kept in a waiting room and then lose a half a day or a day. And as I said today, I had a not subtle other agenda, which was I have been deeply annoyed about the 7 figures this college spends every year on health care, in which we send our health insurance dollars to pay hospitals and doctors who wouldn't consider having any of our students there for education. Why are we doing that? Why do we spend our money on people who thumb their nose at us? Why don't we keep it in-house? Why don't we keep it in the family? And I went ahead and transferred all my medical records from a primary care doc here in Westchester, who does not accept any of our students, to our chairman of family medicine, who went ahead and gave me the senior citizens flu vaccine for those of us of a certain age. So may I introduce the chairman of family medicine and the chief of the new family medicine clinic, Lori Solomon. Oh, Any ringing speeches you want to give about eating lots of fiber, exercising, and being healthy, Lori? Or microphone's right there.
Just want to say we are open and we are ready to see you, and we're available to see you. We are ready to provide comprehensive, attentive medical service to the community, both within New York Medical College and without. So anyone who is looking for a primary care doctor, who wants to change, who wants to start primary care services, we see all ages, and we're happy to have you. So give us a call or just stop by.
Next on my list, it's difficult to correctly articulate who has received Person of the Year, Doctor of Distinction, list of 100 most powerful people in Westchester, Businesswoman of the Year, or Great Scholar in Residence. But receiving awards of this type, since the last time we had a family meeting, are Robert Amler, Charlita Amler, Marina Holtz, and Vilma Bordenaro. You can play a game and figure out who got named which. So. As far as our endless round of fundraising parties, we had a socially and financially successful founders dinner about 6 weeks ago. Truth be told, I still have post-traumatic stress syndrome from the award winner from the School of Health Science and Practice, who decided to sing verse after verse of her class song. For those of you who missed it, you are very fortunate. Other than that, it was great. Dental Gala, November 17th. Continuing on this skein of celebrating successes, if we could give the microphone back to Dean Nadler. We've got a couple of new clinical affiliation sites to talk about at the Bronx VA, Lincoln, Wyckoff, and Good Samaritan. So, Jerry?
So we try to provide the best opportunities for our students to have their rotations. The class size is fairly large, and while we have Westchester, we're really very fortunate to have the Westchester flagship hospital right on campus, Children's Hospital. They can't provide all the sites for the students, and also, as I tell the students, and I trained, and many of our physicians here trained, you don't practice in one hospital. It's a very positive experience to have opportunities at different types of hospitals. This is a major referral hospital right on campus. Some students want to have a rural experience, and they have a rural experience. And we happen to be in a fairly large city, New York City, and there's a very positive opportunity to train at the New York City hospitals. We have a wonderful long-term affiliation, one of the longest in the country, at Metropolitan, which is a wonderful experience for the students. But they having other experiences, and then we have Richmond University with Dr. Ponterio, who's here as our new Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs. We have a wonderful relationship with Rumsey that's growing. We have had a long-term relationship with Dr. Pesolano there in OBGYN. We are expanding in internal medicine, so there's a Staten Island. We try to give every borough a little opportunity. So we have Staten Island covered with some of the changing relationships. We're going to have hopefully an opportunity at Wyckoff Health Center and perhaps another major city hospital. We have a meeting coming up at Lincoln coming up in about 2 weeks. The big opportunity, which I was surprised that we had a relationship with a VA hospital, which is in West Virginia, but we have one of the premier VA hospitals, one of the best in the country right here, and it's actually close by, the Bronx VA. and and they always had an affiliation with Mount Sinai, and really we never were able to get in there. I heard a little rumor from somebody that the Mount Sinai was having a divorce with the VA. So I thank Dr. Frischman and Dr. Wormser in particular, and they said there's an opportunity. So we moved in, and we set up in a probably record time for VA. We set up a formal affiliation with the Bronx VA. So we're starting off with electives. We already have approval for internal medicine clerkships there. And the really nice opportunity is they told us that no students right now are working with them on any research projects. And if those of you that know about VAs, they have a wonderful database, and this is one of the premier VAs in the country, so it's a great opportunity for research, not only for our students, I think for our faculty as well to get involved. So that's really a positive opportunity, and I'm fortunate I have some good friends here on the faculty that tell me some good news and opportunities, so thank you.
For those who maintain corporate memory, you'll notice some of the things you heard, right? The faculty practice plan of New York Medical College is back. We're going to the Bronx VA. We're going back to Lincoln. So, great things happen, and so as long as you have the microphone, shouldn't be a total loss. Tell them about your new chairman, the new Hinter-Buckner chair of rehab medicine.
Oh, okay. So I was at University of Virginia a few years ago before I went to Eastern Virginia, and actually I knew people in the neurology department and in the rehab area, and there was a search going on while I was joining for the Hinter-Buckner chair, which is a chairperson of rehabilitation medicine for the college, but also the chief of rehabilitation medicine at Metropolitan. And the committee did a wonderful job in identifying candidates. It was a really tough we had three great candidates, but we settled, and very enthusiastic candidate, Dr. Paul Diamond, has agreed to come on board. Dr. Diamond is a tenured professor at University of Virginia and nationally known in the area of rehabilitation medicine, particularly stroke. And he's had NIH funding. He's a wonderful educator, very enthusiastic, one of the most enthusiastic recruits I've ever had the opportunity to get involved with. And he's making trips back and forth. He'll be coming on campus soon. He just met with the residents at Metropolitan, and he's going to hit the ground running. I wish he could start tomorrow, but he's loved so much at University of Virginia, they won't let him go right away. So he's going to start probably February or so. So we have a great recruit coming on for rehabilitation medicine. We have other active searches which going on. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about that, so I can say it now. But we have internal medicine active search going on and a pathology active search going on. And the pathology department will be realigned with microbiology and immunology, and so we have great candidates, and those committees are moving at rapid pace. They're starting their remote video interviews as we speak this week, and I expect them to identify 3 or 4 top candidates to come on board for all of us to meet on campus, hopefully sometime in December.
Go ahead and introduce your new Senior Associate Dean, who you alluded to.
So Dr. Ponterio, why don't you, so welcome Dr. Jane Ponterio, many of you know. So Dr. Ponterio is I won't say the year, is a graduate just yesterday, a graduate of New York Medical College, and has been involved with the college for many years, has been the DIO over at RUMC and been involved in the OBGYN program, and now has really been wonderful coming on board as a colleague and setting the stage. And Dr. Halpern already mentioned how wonderful the white coat ceremony is, and Dr. Ponterio, about a week after she started, that was the first thing. She ran the white coat ceremony along with other staff, and it really worked out very well. So we're very excited to have Dr. Ponterio here, and she brought her team with her too. So.
Thank you, Jerry. So, goes there. Next on the list, since the last town hall meeting, we've opened the campus Starbucks. I want to personally offer my endorsement of the Grande White Hot Chocolate. I don't know where that's been my whole life, but I'm very glad to have found it. I am not permitted to say in public that it is America's first kosher Starbucks, so I didn't just say that. Okay, now there's a couple of serious things we need to talk about. We have a crisis management preparedness drill coming up on November 20th. These are sometimes called tabletop exercises where we drill for things we hope will never happen, but you have to practice for them. So if in your particular area you get asked to participate on November 20th, we'll need everyone's cooperation. This only works if those people who are asked to come show up and participate, so we can all go through what our roles would be in the event of a campus crisis. The next thing I want to talk with you about is, as some but not all of you know, I have worried for a lot of the last year about whether or not it would be advisable to arm the campus security staff. It is common that colleges in the city of New York have some armed staff. The campus police were armed when I was at Duke and at the University of Louisville and when I was at North Carolina State University. Westchester Medical Center has some armed officers. No colleges in Westchester have armed security. And for my first 7 years here, I have taken some comfort from the fact that we are next door to the Westchester Police Academy and the SWAT training facilities. But unlike other area colleges, we have a synagogue in the middle of this campus. We have 2 Muslim prayer rooms in this campus. And I hardly need to remind this audience about Charlottesville, or that multiple Americans have died in the last year as a result of gun violence in houses of worship founded in foul bigotry. Our synagogue on the 2nd floor of Alumni House did not have an escape route. We have added one. After very careful consideration of the options, I have decided to arm campus security. I will follow the practice of WMC. I will under no circumstances publicly discuss who is armed, how many, how often, or under what circumstances. Part of deterrence is that those who seek to do us harm need to fear what might be in opposition to them and not know about it. I am very sorry to have to do this. I was raised by parents, particularly my father, who I remember very distinctly when something would happen and one of his friends would be alarmed. He would say in Yiddish, it's all right, this is America, this is not Europe, we're safe here. It's a sad day that in the free and ordered space of the academy, I need to make decisions like this, but I did. I take full and personal responsibility for the decision. Next on the list of serious things to talk about, we have been given notice that our students will no longer be welcome at St. Joseph's Patterson or Brookdale in Brooklyn as of the middle of next year. This is a result of a combination in each case of either a hospital merger or acquisition, money being thrown around by for-profit Caribbean schools, or allegations that somehow we should make more of our medical students choose to match a particular hospital's, something which is obviously not within our power to do so, and even if it were, it would be the wrong thing to do. Regarding the property, I always talk to you at town hall meetings some things about property. When are you going to demolish Munger, Edward? It took you 3 years to get the driveway built to Skyline. What's going on now? Take it away, Nick.
The driveway, well, we'll see what we can do compared to that. So the wheels have changed. Sometimes in Westchester County, move at a glacial pace. But I think in baseball analogy, we may be rounding around third finally for that corner of the property. So we don't have any specific great concrete news to report other than we are focusing in on what I think the last of the key issues are on renewing our lease with the county. 15 acres of this campus, many of you may or may not know, are actually leased from Westchester County. We have a remainder of about 20 years. We'll be renewing that entire lease for a new 99 years, which will solidify our home and strength all across the campus. But part of that element is in giving us the permission and ability to tear down Munger, revitalize that corner of campus that we're all familiar with, and build a new 300 to 400 bedroom dorm facility to modernize our housing capacity, maintain the residential nature of this campus that we like, and also add capacity for our dental students that have come on board for this. So we are actively working, again, with the hopefully final stages with the county to solidify that, to be able to move forward, as well as working with some partners to help us finance, design, and then build the new dorm as that comes. So we'll have more information, and we'll have a party, perhaps pop some corks or at least some confetti and balloons when we finally have some of these stages inkling out. But I think we're nearing, and there'll be some good progress on that soon to hopefully really bring that corner of campus back to what it was at some point in the past.
The chair will entertain a motion as to whether or not, so far at today's town hall meeting, the award for best understatement goes to Dean Nadler for, quote, New York is among America's largest cities, close quote, or to legal counsel Janica for the county of Westchester sometimes moves at a glacial pace. Sarah, looks like she went out to go deal with Skyline. If Sarah were here, the next thing on the list is when really big cranes appear in the parking lot near BSB, it's because we're going to have to replace 2 of the cooling towers on top of BSB, which mean they have to be lifted and put there. So if someone puts a note on your car that says you got to be out of this parking lot between such and such an hour and such at some time in the coming months for it, because a crane's coming, that's why. Okay. A sermon from the Chancellor on parking. For those of you who have either chosen to deluge my email box with your opinions about parking or have had a word that might be somewhat intemperate with Sarah about it. For the 25 years I was in the faculty at Duke, my parking space was roughly at the equivalent of where Dana Road is, so that I could walk to Duke Hospital, which was roughly where Westchester Medical Center was in relationship. I either walked or I took the shuttle bus. When I became department chair, my parking place was in the same place. Nobody at Duke got 2 parking places if they wanted to go from east to west campus. You walked, rode your bike, or took the shuttle bus. Same at the University of Louisville, same at the University of Michigan and Northwestern. People who have had words with me because they think that on Mount Sinai, not only were the 10 Commandments given, but number 11 was I get 2 or 3 parking places. No, you don't. It's not negotiable. Got a shuttle bus. The hospital shuttle bus is going to be extended to include our campus, plus our own shuttle bus routes. It's a nice walk and no multiple spaces. And in the list of priorities, patients come first. So patients who need to get out of the dental clinic at Skyline or need to get in and out of Lori's clinic, get the closest spaces, and we have valet parking for them now. I will not permit any further behavior that endangers life or safety. Anyone who wishes to act out about parking by parking in fire lanes, obstructing loading docks, etc., will get booted or towed. That's what we're going to do. Nobody who doesn't like their parking space has a right to obstruct, and God forbid we had to get a fire engine someplace. Okay, on happier notes, Adam wants to tell you something. So let's give a New York Medical College welcome to everyone loves, the finance guy.
I feel like Phil Donahue. How you doing, Wade? Okay, so finance. For those of you who are probably like me and they check the New York Medical College website regularly, you will have noticed that we've uploaded the most recent financial statements ending June 30th, 2019. You will have noticed when you peruse the income statement that we had a positive year last year. That was due to three significant things. One, contributed income year over year went up. Two, grant income went up year over year, thanks to all the efforts of the PIs and the leadership of Dr. Halpern and Dr. Amar. And three, expense controls. We were very, very successful in controlling expenses. And you thought the coffee memo wouldn't work. So with that, we had a positive year. Moving on to this year. We had, just as you heard, had a very successful founders dinner. On the gross and a net, we did better than last year. And this year, in terms of enrollment, we are looking in all three schools either at close to or above budget. We were also able to award more scholarships last year, which was a great success for the school, for the students. With all that in mind, under the direction of Dr. Halpern, Dr. Kadish, and the board, effective January 1st, 2020, there will be a 2% raise, a COLA, that will be awarded to the campus in conjunction with our policy. This is good news. It's not all my credit, obviously. But no, everyone, seriously, but everyone here has to take note of what it took to get to this place. This is the first time in many years where we've been positive, where we've really done a lot, both on the revenue side and on the expense control side. And we need to keep that momentum going. We've really, turned the ship. We're seeing sea level now, and we want to keep that going. So it does come down to watching the pennies and watching everything, but we also want to invest where we can, and that's what we're doing here. Thank you.
That was what was on my list to talk about, so anything you want to talk about, please use the microphone so everyone can hear.
About Munger. Maybe it's too early to even bring this up, but at some point I remember hearing that there was consideration that there would be some housing units potentially reserved for visiting faculty, and I'm wondering if that's still in the plan. I know that we have a lot of students to house there, but it would be terrific if there were the possibility of having some on-campus housing for visiting scientists.
Yes, it's still in the plan. In two ways. I thought it might be wise that if we do a new faculty recruit and the person says, I'm coming from some distance, I don't envision raising a family on the grasslands, but maybe for the first year I think I'd like a place to live until I size up the area. Other schools do that, so we might set aside a unit for a young faculty recruit who might want to live here for the first year or so. The issue about visiting faculty is it's extremely expensive to have unrented or unused rooms. So someone who was going to be here for a block of time so the room wouldn't sit vacant. So I don't envision creating a hotel, one night because you're giving a lecture. But if someone said they're going to be here for 6 months or 9 months or something like that, visiting scholar, yes, it remains in the plan. Okay, so let's remember the goals here for the housing at Munger are, we gave a promise for the hospital and the county that part of the strategy for increasing the number of U.S. graduates of you being a house officer or WMC being desirable is having an alternative to housing other than those places on the Oval, which have clearly seen better days. So some of the housing would be for house staff, some for our students, and some for the faculty, as I've described. Also in the plans would be common space, study space, student lounges, a replacement for the synagogue in alumni house, social space, etc. Depending on which plans we would pursue, there would be room on the property for additional expansion in the coming years. I gave the town of Mount Pleasant my word we would not turn it into a sheet of asphalt. So we have to be mindful of how the parking would be designed. And as I told you a few years ago when we first got into this, there are 3 large underground conduits on that land for water and electricity for the grasslands. So we cannot build on top of those, so the design has to stay away from them. Also, if you step back and look at where Munger is, it's sloped land. So the design will have to deal with the intrinsic slope of the land. But the answer is yes, yes. What else? As I've said before, like we say back home in North Carolina, you all just stare at me. This will take a long time. I already told all the jokes I wrote for today. So. You feeling okay, Carl? We've never gotten through a town hall without you having something that you want. There's something it's usually something you want to bring up. So. Next time. Okay. All right. Well, in that case, we should have a good Thanksgiving and continue to have great things happening here. Have a good afternoon, everyone.